Now, without further ado, I would hand over to Professor Ɡremmer. Professor Ɡremmer, stage is yours.
Okay, thank you. Let me just quickly share my presentation that I prepared for you. All right, so hopefully you can now see the slides, yeah? Let me briefly introduce myself before I will talk a little bit about the program itself. So my name is Carlo Ɡremmer, so I'm the supervisor of the master's program, and in general responsible for all the coordination regarding the program, and also like having that oversight over the program and how it's actually constructed. So before joining Wiesbaden Business School, I studied at the University of Mannheim, also did my PhD in Mannheim. And after my PhD studies, I worked for Bain & Company, so one of the large strategy consultants. And thereafter, I joined the University of Applied Sciences in Trier first, and then moved on to Wiesbaden Business School, where I'm now employed for like 13 years. So I'm like one of the older professors already, yeah. And also like, was also responsible for like building this program. So hopefully I'm the right person also to like explain it to you why it's a good idea, maybe like studying in Wiesbaden and choosing the Master in International Management, yeah. So before I talk about the program specifically, let me briefly talk a little bit about the Wiesbaden Business School. So the business school was founded in 1971 as part of the Rhine-Main University of Applied Sciences. And of course, we are still part of that, the university. However, we are located on our own campus. I have like a couple of pictures on the next slide. So this is a very nice thing because like it's really just the business school students who are together during the week. So this is also nice so that you can get to know a lot of people, and it's like a close community and a small community. And our campus is located in the city center of Wiesbaden. So we're not like one of those campuses which are like completely outside of town, yeah, but you are right in the city center, which is also very nice. So in total, currently there are like 3,000 students enrolled in 7 different bachelor and 5 master programs. So we are covering a broad range of business administration programs, yeah, in bachelor as well as master's degrees. Yeah, so the International Management Master, of course, is then like one of those 5 master programs. The staff consists of like a total of 50 full-time professors, but we also have like teaching assistants. So it's not just the 50 full-time professors, but it's just to show you that we are like a significant staff, so that let's say the ratio of like students per professor is rather small, which is also very good because you can always talk to us. It's not like those typical classes where you have like hundreds of students sitting in front of one of the professors, which is like the more common type of situation in Germany with the universities. So with those universities of applied sciences, you have like much smaller ratios and like much more personal relationships also to the professors. We do have a very strong international focus, like with like over 90 partner universities. And international focus means we do exchange programs for the bachelor students, but we also have a lot of like incoming students from other universities from all over the world, like as in the bachelor as well as in the master's programs. We also do summer school, so we have all kinds of like international activities going on. So the whole university, especially the business school, can definitely be considered a very international school. Yeah. So as promised, here you can see a couple of photos from our very nice campus. As I said, it's like a campus specifically for the business school. So we are located in Wiesbaden in the city center in that like very nice older building, as well as a second more modern building. And we do have our own library. We have like workspaces for students all over the campus. and also a very nice courtyard in between the buildings where like students meet throughout the day, also during the break. So this is like a very nice atmosphere and a very positive, let's say, working and learning atmosphere in Wiesbaden. So let me now talk a little bit about the program itself. Yeah, so first, like highlighting the main objectives, which also should give you a certain flavor on like what the focus of the program is, and how the program is shaped. So it is a general management program. Yeah, so the one of the key objectives is to like develop management skills, so that you should develop management skills which are required in like executive management positions, meaning the program is not focused on like a very specific topic within business administration, like giving you all kinds of nitty-gritty details, but it is really a general management program which should give you the required expertise to have a good oversight over like an entire company, have the like required skills to lead a company in an executive position. So this was always like the purpose or the goal when like building the program. So one very important aspect in this regard is also that we are focused, or we are like very keen on trying to develop like, or giving you skills which are like it provide an oversight over multiple different functional areas. So you are not like just going to sit in like all kinds of different classes where you learn finance, marketing, supply chain, and so on, and you don't see the relationships between the areas. But like one very important aspect is always like trying to teach you like what important relationships exist between the areas, which things you need to be aware of when like leading and managing a company, in terms of like the different things that need to be like taken into account in terms of the relationships between the different areas. Then one important aspect is also like coming from that international focus, giving you also like the required intercultural communication skills. We do have a module specifically targeted at like intercultural aspects and leadership aspects. Yeah, so this is like also one very important building block in the whole program, as well as like the program has a couple of like team efforts, teamwork modules, where you do not just work on your own, but instead work in teams. And since like the students are typically a good mixture of like former Wiesbaden bachelor students as well as incoming international students, these teams are typically also very international, and you learn to work like on very international teams, on like topics in teams, which is also a very good learning experience. And then lastly, we do, of course, given that we are a University of Applied Sciences, try not to get lost too much into like theoretical details. Of course, we will give you the required theory that is like for a higher education, like let's say appropriate, but nevertheless, the focus of the program is very much on like applying the things and concepts that you learn, instead of like just like going through all kinds of details and theory, but rather like trying to focus on what you really need in practice, and also giving you opportunities to apply the things you learn right in the program before you actually, let's say, go out and start your career. So in terms of the structure of the program, it is a 2-semester program. Yeah, so it's a very condensed program, so it is intense. Yeah, so you will learn quite a lot in those 2 semesters. But I think it's well worth it, also given the fact that most other master's programs are like 3 or 4 semesters or even longer. So this is an opportunity to like finish a master's degree within like just 1 year. However, you should be aware that this requires a significant effort, of course, yeah, but it's definitely rewarding. And the structure of the program is such that we divided, let's say, the 2 semesters along a typical journey of a company, like a typical life cycle of a company, starting with topics which, as that you can see like on the left-hand side of the slide, which are focused more on, let's say, entrepreneurial topics where you set up activities. Yeah, so things that you can see in the modules underneath, like economic country analysis, trying to get an understanding on the macroeconomic factors that are important in analyzing different countries to choose, for example, where to internationally expand your operations. Then this is like or joined by like a marketing management course as well as an international investments course. So I'm responsible for finance, so I will do the international investments course. So this is, of course, a course where you learn how to evaluate investments, like with proper financial investment rules, and like doing the proper math also to get like a profound understanding on which investments do make sense and which do not make sense. And then the box you can see on the bottom, like the yellow colored box, which is labeled market entry case study. The idea there is that you will do in a team like a case study over the entire semester, applying all those theoretical ideas or concepts that you learn in the other 3 courses to like a market entry of a company that you will choose on your own as a team. So you get the opportunity to right away apply the theory that you learn in the courses to like a very in-depth case study where we will coach you to get like proper results, and given all our, like, let's say, practice experience. Yeah, so because that's another advantage certainly of a University of Applied Sciences, that all the professors that you are going to meet are professors that have worked in practice and have worked in companies, and they do know what they are talking about instead of like being mainly focused on theory. And there we will, let's say, help you with all our experience to like be successful in that, of course, rather complex but very insightful case study. And then the second part of the first semester would be on like more operational focused topics like supply chain management, accounting and taxation. And then again, like a business simulation where you will, again, in teams, like manage a company in a simulation, again, giving you the opportunity to apply the theoretical things that you learned and getting like a first flavor on what it takes to actually manage a company, what like kind of challenges you will be facing. And then with increased complexity, learning to like what are the main things to focus on when managing companies. Then after finishing the first semester, in between like first and second semester, you will write the master's thesis. At least this is the ideal like point in time where you should do the master's thesis. There is also the option to do it after the second semester, which is a bit more relaxed, but then of course the whole program will take a bit more than 2 semesters. It's not an entire like 3rd semester, but it will then be more like 2.5 semesters if you choose to do the master's thesis after the second semester. If you do it in between first and second, then as I said, you can finish the entire program in just 1 year. Yeah, so then in the second semester, we have like classes focused more on, let's say, optimization of existing operations, which include things like capital structure as a finance class, operational improvement, and strategic and sustainable transformations. And then again, as with the market entry case study, you will apply the concepts that you learn in those like a bit more theoretically oriented classes, like the first 3 ones, to like a case study, which is that optimization case study. Again, giving you that opportunity to immediately apply what you learned in a very, let's say, realistic environment, because we will choose existing companies, choose like financial statements from existing companies that you will use to then do analysis. And from that, we will discuss optimization potentials, like based on real world companies. And then lastly, the second part of the second semester, or the second, like, let's say, group of courses, includes global leadership and cross-cultural communications, as I mentioned earlier. Yeah, so this is also a large module which focuses on like typical aspects of intercultural communication and leadership aspects. And then also a second economics class, like teaching you what kind of like risks, for example, need to be considered into international operations, like political risks, sovereign risks, etc. Yeah, so this is just a, let's say, a first overview over the different courses that consist or are included in that master's program. Of course, like on the website, you can get some more detailed information, or you can just ask me after the presentation if you have like more specific questions. So let me finish off my presentation by talking a little bit about the admission requirements, because as was mentioned earlier, this is really important that you have a look into what is required, because those are like formal requirements. So these are not like just like general guidelines, and we can make exceptions. Since they are really like formalized admission requirements, we have to check any application against those requirements. And if you don't meet the requirements, we have to reject your application. So it's nothing that where we can, let's say, have a certain room for interpretation or for flexibility, because they are, as I said, completely formalized, and therefore have to be met by any applicant to the program. Yeah. So the requirements are that you have successfully completed a business degree program. So you have to have a degree in a business-related program. It must not be just business administration. It could be some, let's say, a degree where you have a mixture of, let's say, engineering with business, for example, but there has to be some kind of like business focus in the program that you completed. And it should be comparable to our Bachelor in International Management. Yeah, and what means comparable is specifically that you have to have the competencies which are underlined like in that first bullet. So you have to prove that you have competencies in international financial management, international accounting, international marketing, and international business relations. So these are like the 4 focus areas in our bachelor's program, and we have to ensure that anybody who applies for the master's program does have all those required knowledges up front before starting the master's program. This is not just to provide like very high, let's say, minimum requirements and not to allow like external students to join the program, but this is simply done because, as I said, it's just a 1-year program. So you have to be up to speed right from the beginning, and there is no time to like make up any deficiencies that you might have, because it's just a too short program. Yeah, and therefore we need to make sure that you have the same knowledge as those like students from our bachelor program that continue with the master's program, and that's why we have those like rather restrictive application requirements here. If you can prove like in a paper form that you have those requirements, or that you meet those requirements, then you will have to complete a 15-minute interview. So I will be part of that interview, or I will be in that interview, as well as like a colleague of mine who's covering economics. And the purpose is to then like check whether you really do have those required upfront knowledges, and you do have the required knowledge upfront. So we will ask you questions in that 15-minute interview regarding like specific areas in finance, marketing, but also economics. So make sure you prepare for an interview, which is an interview supposed to test your knowledge and not just like to get to know you, but it is a more like content focused interview that you will have to pass. If you're then successful in the interview, then you will be you will get a positive admission to the program. Two other more formal requirements for the program are that your final mark, your grade average, has to be at least 2.2, like when it is converted to like German standards. So there are like specific ways how those like final marks and grades are converted. And once you can prove that like this is at least 2.2, then you can apply for the program. And you also, once like entering the program, you have to prove your proficiency in English, because it's a program that is entirely in English. Yeah, so there are only English-speaking courses, of course. and you have to prove that you at least meet the C1 level to participate in the program. Yeah, so these are the admission requirements, and make sure that you check against those, because you shouldn't waste your time on trying to apply if like you don't have those formal requirements. If you are in doubt, it's always a good idea asking, writing emails, and just maybe like getting an opinion before you apply. And then, I mean, if you choose to apply and you are invited to the interview, prepare well for the interview, and then you should be good. Yeah. Okay, so that's it on my side, from my side, on the International Management Master's Program in Wiesbaden.